Alright, this is Math Unit 4B Review over percents. Your test is tomorrow, Tuesday, November 26th. I'll start with the green sheet on the review and then finish up with the white sheet. So let's get started. Alright, the fill in the blank problems. It says use the opposite blank to undo. So when solving percent problems, we use the opposite operation to undo. We replace of with multiplication. We replace is with equals. We replace what percent, we replace what percent with the letter P, and we replace what number with the letter N. Those are when we are solving percent problems. Alright, first one, 25% of 64. You can either choose to do the proportions or you can do decimal method to solve these. I'll show you both ways. First way is decimal method. So you change 25% to a decimal, you get 0.25. Multiply, because of is multiply, 64. And when I do 0.25 times 64, I get 16. If you're going to do it the proportion method, you set up your percent is 25 over 100 equals x over 64. Then you have 100x by cross multiplication. You have 100x equals 1600. Divide to get x by itself. And x is 16. Okay, so you get the same answer no matter which way you choose to solve the problem. Number 2, 15% of 12. Decimal method first, 0.15 times 12. Plug that into your calculator, and you get 1.8. If I want to do it the proportion method, I set it up 15 over 100 equals x over 12. And 100x equals 180. Divide both sides by 100. And x is equal to 1.8. So no matter which way you choose to do it, either the decimal or the proportion, you'll both get the same answer. Number 3, 15% of 23 is what number? So this is what we were talking about earlier when solving percent problems. So 15%, I bring it down to 15%. Of is multiplication. 23, I bring it down. Is equal. What number? Is n. Okay, I got to change my 15% to a decimal. And then 15% of 23 equals n, and n is equal to 3.45. Next one, what percent? So what percent is P? Of is multiply. 36 is 36. Is equal. 12 is 12. Now I need to solve to get P by itself because I want P as a percent. So to do that, I need to do the opposite operation, and I need to divide both sides by 36. And when I do that, I get P is equal to 0.3 repeating. Okay? And remember, when 0.3 is repeating, you have to go to at least 3 decimal places so that you can change it into a percent accurately. So I swoop 2 to the right, and I get P is equal to 33.3 with a repeating bar percent. So that is number 4. Moving on to number 5. 20% of what number is 200? So 20% stays 20%. Of is multiply. What number is n? Is equal. And 200 stays 200. Change this to a decimal, 0.2 times n equals 200. Now I need to get n by itself. So I need to divide both the left and the right side by 0.2, which gets rid of that, and I'm left with n is equal to 1,000. Next one, what percent P of multiply 500 is equal. 150 stays 150. Got to get P by itself, so I got to use the opposite operation and divide by what it's stuck with. And I get P is equal to 0.3. This time it doesn't repeat. Okay, and I still need to sweep my decimal 2 times to make it a percent, and P is equal to 30%. Number 7 begins, ooh, I need to move this. How do I do this? Hold on. All right, number 7 begins the word problem. So when we're talking about sales tax or commission or discounts or anything like that, we start our word problems with the phrase P of item is the amount. And the amount could be the amount of tax, could be the amount of commission, could be the amount of discount. In this case, it's going to be tax. So I read my problem. The sales tax on a $25 shirt, so I know $25 is my item. My shirt is my item. The sales tax rate on a $25 shirt is $1.25. That is my amount of tax. Okay, and I know of is multiply. What is the sales tax rate? That's what they're asking you to find. So you're trying to find P. So I have P times $25 equals $125. To get P by itself, I have to divide both sides by 25. And I get P is equal to 0.05. And if I sweep the decimal, which I have to, P is 5%. So the tax rate is 5%. All right, have a look at the white sheet. The white sheet, the first problem says, Team 7 Gold students purchased team t-shirts for $7. How much sales tax will there be, if the tax rate is 9%? Okay, so I start off with P of item is the amount. In this case, it's the amount of tax. Okay, so percent I know is 9% from the problem. I know of is multiplication. I know my item is a $7 t-shirt, and I'm trying to find the amount of tax. So to find that, I change this into a decimal. 0.09 times 7 gives me my amount of tax, and it is 63 cents. Next one, Miss Scott and Mrs. Kuhn go to St. Louis Bread Company and spend $42 on lunch. I don't know what we had to eat, but that's a lot of money. How much should they tip if they want to tip their server 25%? So again, we have P of item is amount. So my percent is 25%. My of is multiplication. My item is my bill. Is equal. And this time, it's the amount of tip. Okay, and to find that, I change this into a decimal, multiply by 42, and I get my tip. And if I go to my calculator and multiply 0.25 times 42, I get $10.50 is my tip. Make sure you have a label of a dollar sign. Okay? Next one, number 3. The Truman Orchestra earns 15% commission on each cookie order. If they sell $7,500 worth of cookie dough, how much commission will they earn? Okay, start it off. P of item is amount. Okay, so my percent is 15%. Of is multiply. My item is $7,500 of cookie dough, and I'm trying to find my amount of commission. Okay, change this into a decimal, multiply it by 7,500, and I get my amount of commission is $1,125. Okay, make sure you're using your calculator on these. There's no reason to do it out long multiplication and make an error, so make sure you're using your calculator. Next one, the Lindbergh Athletics Department wants to build a new field for their season. They borrow $22,000 at an interest rate of 3%. How much will the interest be after 10 years? So when you hear the words interest and borrow and percent, okay, you know you're doing a simple interest problem. I equals P times R times T. And off to the left, you have I equals, P equals, R equals, T equals. and they borrowed $22,000 for 10 years at a rate of 3%, and we're trying to find the interest. So you just plug all those numbers in, and you have I equals 22,000 times my rate as a decimal times my years, and my interest ends up being $6,600. Next one, Mr. Snyder's Flyer Time purchased $100 worth of hot chocolate supplies. And for a fundraiser, if the sales tax is 9%, what is the total amount they will have to spend? Okay, this is a two-part question because I'm asking you the total amount. So first I'm going to find how much tax. So I find that by doing P of item is amount. And my item is $100 worth of goods. My sales tax is 9%. Of is multiplication, is equal, and I find my amount of tax. Okay? And so change this to a decimal. My amount of tax is $9. But it asks what is the total amount they will have to spend. So they have to spend $100 on the goods, on the items. They have to spend $9 on the tax. So the total amount they'll have to spend is $109. Make sure you're reading the questions when you answer these. It can be easy to not answer what it's asking you to, so make sure you carefully read what the problem says. Next one, the Truman cheerleaders go to Lone Star Steakhouse to celebrate a successful season. If they spend $550 on their dinner and want to leave a 20% tip, how much will the total bill be? How much will their total bill be? Okay, so it's another two-part question. So I have my P of item is, is amount. Okay, so my P is 20%. My of is multiplication. My item is their $550 bill. And this is the tip, the amount of tip. Okay, change this to a decimal. Their tip is going to be, their tip is $110. Okay, so if that's their tip, I need to add their tip plus what they spent money on dinner on, which is $550. So their total is $660. That is your final answer. I gotta make sure you add the two together. Alright, the last two problems are simple interest problems. So at the top you need I equals PRT. Down the side, I equals, P equals, R equals, T equals. So how long will it take for a deposit of $4,500, so that's my principal, my deposit, at an annual rate of 5.75% to earn $1,035 in interest? So I know my interest is $1,035. I'm trying to figure out how long it's going to take. Okay, so I take my I equals P times R times T. 1035 equals 4,500 times my rate as a decimal, which is 0.0575 times T. Then I need to multiply what's next to the T before I can start dividing. So I have 1035 equals 258.75 times T. Divide both sides by 258.75. And I get T is 4 years. Last problem, and I have 30 seconds. Okay, I equals PRT, and I have I, P, R, T. Oh my gosh, if I get cut off, the answer is I equals $80. So P is 250, R is 0.04, and 8 years, multiply those together, I get the I, and I get $80, and I finished. Good luck on your test. Study, study, study.